Hey everyone, and welcome to another Beyond the Real Theory video. As you all know, D23 was this past weekend, and a lot of news dropped for Star Wars fans. We got Kenobi, we got a Mandalorian trailer, and we got a special look into Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. I'm going to make some videos talking about all that, but today I want to focus on just one specific thing, and that is Darkseid Rey. So let's get into it.
Shall we punch it? Punch it!
Punch it!
Punch it!
Punch it!
So there's been a lot of talk about Darkseid Rey, and one thing that I wanted to talk about in particular with her is the unstable lightsaber blades. A couple of YouTubers have already talked about this, including Star Wars Theory, who is one of my personal favorite YouTube channels out there today talking about Star Wars. He touched on a couple of ideas as to why the crystal would be unstable, including the theory that she could be using Kylo Ren's fractured lightsaber crystal to power the blade. And I agree with a lot of the things he said. Go check out that video if you haven't seen it already. It's a great theory video. But there was a couple of things that I just wanted to add to it, a couple ideas of my own I had to kind of expand on why we see Rey's lightsaber blades unstable, why they're crackling, kind of like Kylo Ren's. One thing that didn't make a lot of sense to me in the theory that Rey's using Kylo's crystal is that she's got a double-sided blade that splits in the middle to fold. We saw this same concept or the same design with Pon Krell from the Clone Wars, as well as the Temple Guards from Star Wars Rebels. And to me, it always made sense that those type of lightsabers had two crystals, right? One on either end, focusing the blade out of either side. I always assumed that was the case with Darth Maul's as well, especially because when his lightsaber gets cut in half, he's still able to use one side of it in the Clone Wars series. So I always assumed there was just two crystals focusing out the blade on either end. And I think that was actually confirmed in some legends, but I don't know if that's canon anymore. So when I hear people theorize that the crystal from the blade is Kylo Ren's, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Now, it does make sense to me that the crystal is fractured or cracked, right? And that's what's causing an unstable blade. Now, a little bit into red lightsabers and into red crystals. Crystal becomes red or that crimson color because the crystal is bled by a dark side user, right? So a dark side user will take a crystal that is usually affiliated with the light side and they will bleed it. They will corrupt it using their dark side energy, causing it to turn that red color. Now, when Kylo Ren did this, he was conflicted, he was torn, he was being pulled between the light and the dark, and so because of his unstableness, his blade became unstable, which is a kind of a symbolism for how he is internally. And so having that cracked lightsaber that he bled creates that unstable blade. Now, Rey is probably using two crystals in her staff, like I mentioned before. Now, we already know in canon a pair of crystals that are fractured that she could be using. We saw it in Episode 8. At the end of The Last Jedi, when she tears apart the hero Saber, she has both those crystals in her hand when she's standing in the Millennium Falcon. So this leads me to believe that the two crystals that could be inside that lightsaber are either half of the hero Saber that we saw Luke and Anakin have. Now, in the beginning of the movie, it's obvious that we see that crystal is repaired. We see that lightsaber is repaired. We see it in the trailer for Episode 9, and we also saw it in the footage we got over the weekend with her fighting Kylo Ren. So it leads me to believe that at one point she's going to repair this crystal, and if she indeed goes dark side, like we see in this footage, that she's going to destroy that crystal again or break it back apart and use both sides to focus the lightsaber on either end of that staff, which again in turn would cause an unstable blade, which again was probably symbolism from J.J. Abrams showing that Rey herself is unstable, being torn between the light and the dark, which makes a ton of sense to me just because, you know, Rian Johnson, who I know a lot of people hate and a lot of people love, not going to get into that now, but Rian Johnson did say in an interview that Rey and Kylo are opposite sides of the same coin. They're two parts of one protagonist. So it would make sense for them to have very similar stories as far as, you know, how their lightsabers are created and why they would behave in a certain way. Anyways, that's just kind of the main thing I wanted to talk about with her blades, is that she's probably using two sides of that fractured crystal to create that blade. There's a lot of other good theories as to why her blade is going to be that way. You know, one of them is that it's a vision, right? So it doesn't even matter what crystals are being used because it's not real, which is very likely. Probably the most likely scenario, actually, just because, you know, why would they show the big reveal of Rey going dark side in the trailer if it wasn't a misdirect? So I'm guessing it's probably JJ trying to trick us into thinking that that's the case. But either way, we're all going to get sweaty and speculate about it, which is great. I mean, that's what I love about Star Wars, is just people having these conversations, trying to figure out what these little bits of information they're giving us actually means. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Star Wars Theory, and I really liked his video, so I just kind of wanted to give my own thoughts on what he kind of started the conversation for me. I'm going to get into the rest of the footage we saw from D23. I'm going to do a breakdown video of all of the shots that we saw for episode 9, as well as a kind of a breakdown of the Mandalorian trailer, which I was really excited for. And then hopefully on one of my upcoming podcasts, we're going to talk about Kenobi and how excited we are for the Kenobi series. Might just be a single video, depending on the guests I'm able to get on for the show. So thanks so much for watching this video, guys. Please leave a like. It really helps me out. I'm a very small YouTube channel trying to get a little bit bigger, so every like helps. Leave a comment, let me know what you think. If you saw the Star Wars Theories video, tell me what your favorite part of that was. Tell me if you think there's going to be 1 crystal or 2 crystals within this lightsaber. Let me know if I'm totally wrong on how lightsabers work. Again, I'm not an expert, but I've been a fan for many years, and that's kind of how I always expected them to work. So let me know. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. I've got a lot of stuff coming up. Thanks guys for watching, and may the Force be with you.